Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tabifolks Talks. Today, I'm joined by Meg from Culture City. Before we get to talking about her, I just want to say, her and Culture City, I just want to say to anyone tuning in for the first time, Tabifolks Talk is a webinar series that's all about accessible travel, and it's featured by Tabifolk. Tabifolk.com is an accessible travel forum. So each episode, we tried to feature a guest that aligned with one of our forum pillars. So this week, we're featuring Culture City, and we have a forum all about sensory inclusive travel and neurodiversity. So if you're interested in sharing information with other like-minded travelers, head on over to tabifolk.com and make a profile or download the Tabifolk app right on your phone. So this is a live episode, but it will be recorded later to watch on YouTube, on the Tabifolk YouTube. But if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them, and hopefully Meg can answer them. But if not, we can answer them after the fact, or if you're watching later, you can comment your question as well, and hopefully we can get them answered. So before we start, I'll just give a quick visual descriptor. So we have two screens here. I'm on one, Meg is on the other against a black background, and I am a 30-year-old white woman with brown hair wearing like a beige type of turtleneck that has stripes on it. And before we start, I'll just have Meg give her visual descriptor.
Yes, I am Meg. I have short brown hair, probably shoulder length, and bangs. I am wearing, I have to pull this up, a Culture City sweatshirt that is black. And then I have on darker lipstick right now. It's like a plum color. And I am a female in my mid or upper, nope, just kidding. I'm upper 30s now because I'm 38.
Okay, great. Okay, well, let's get right to it. So, how about you tell us a bit about Culture City and your role there?
Yeah. So Culture City is the world's leading nonprofit in sensory accessibility and inclusion. And my role there, I wear a few hats, as I think is common in nonprofits, that you wear multiple hats or you serve multiple roles. My primary one, I would say, is customer service partners management. I am often the one you will be communicating with regarding getting your entity up and running as sensory inclusive certified with Culture City. And I will be the one that kind of connects you to our lovely sensory team. And then I also serve as the chief, we call it the chief Koji officer. And Koji is a communication tool, an AI generative conversation and communication tool that is free on our free Culture City app. So with that, my background is as a speech and language pathologist. And then I also am a writer, and I write for a platform called Scary Mommy. And I think if you take the writing that I love to do, you take the speech and language pathology background, and then also I am more newly diagnosed as an autistic female as of a couple years ago. But obviously I've always been autistic, and you put all that together, and I think it makes for a great role for me to have in Culture City because they tap into my strengths. They're very aware of any of my weaknesses, and they come alongside me. And I think we all work such as a beautiful team together, kind of like amplifying each other's strengths and then stepping in as needed. And it's a massive gift to be a part of such a lovely team of like-minded individuals. Over 80% of our team is neurodivergent with a variety of backgrounds. And so it's just really fun to get to serve those that we ourselves are a part of, that same population.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I was thinking that like wow, your experience is great, a great mixture. And I love to hear when a team is comprised of people with lived experience. I think that really adds to the power of the mission of what they're doing. And speaking of the mission, you have a lot of great people on your team, like big names. When I was reading, I was like, wow, because I was a big fan of the Barbie movie. So I saw the Ken's Simu Liu, but also I saw Randall Park, Ken Jeong, Jenny, J. Farley. So how did this
Mhm.
team get together of like all these big names, and how do they all work to support Culture City?
Yeah. Um, so 1 in 4 kids and adults have an invisible disability, have a sensory processing challenge or need. And what is great about the board of Culture City is you have like the folks that you mentioned. Like I know JWoww has a son who is on the autism spectrum and he has sensory needs. And so when it's, again, I think you already hit on that, like when it's personal and near and dear to you, the topic at hand, the mission that you're on, the more buy-in that you have, the more like you're ready and you're willing to do whatever you can to be a world changer, and to create spaces of safety and inclusion, especially for your child. And then I would say some of the other ones, like I know Simu Liu has his own um, sensory challenges and whatnot. And what's really neat at Culture City, like I don't know the origin stories at the very beginning of how they get involved, but I do know it's all very organic. And then one tells someone else, and then maybe they're on like the same show together or something like that. And then they come out to, we have this annual gala, which I tell everyone, it's like a picture of heaven on earth for one night. It's amazing. It's called Culture Ball, and I think they get to see like, oh my gosh, the work that they're doing is so meaningful. And then people have, again, 1 in 4, everyone knows someone or is someone that has one of these sensory needs. And so I think it's just kind of organic and they all come together and are lovely. And we have such a very strong, like-minded and focused board group.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I can just see how much Culture City has built, over the years, and it's amazing what's been done. So I can't wait to see, what comes next. But for people that are a bit unfamiliar with like the phrase sensory accessibility
Mhm.
or things like that, could you explain some examples or circumstances that people with sensory needs or disabilities may run into that make certain situations difficult or even undoable?
Absolutely. So, most of us are raised to know about the five senses. Um, but what we have learned in the last few years, there are three additional ones. Like we have a total of 8 senses within the body that our brain is constantly throughout the day being bombarded with various information that are tapping into these different sensory processes. And so, for example, what will I do? I know. I'll talk about like if I was to go to a Post Malone concert. I love Post Malone. um, but you go to a concert, you are dealing with loud sounds. You're dealing with an internal, like so your interoceptive sense. You're dealing with maybe like you didn't maybe your body doesn't tell you necessarily when you're hungry or thirsty, and maybe you've been so excited all day, that would be me, so excited all day to go to the concert, but you pair maybe not of eating with the excitement with the noise can be actually physically painful for many individuals that have a sensory sensitivity when it comes to the auditory sense. um, Paired with visually, you have so many people around you, not to mention the concessions and the drinks, like all the different smells. Um, all of those things can turn into what looks like a lot of fun, can turn into overstimulation and can lead to dysregulation where the body is not at peace inside and you get into a state of fight, flight, or freeze mode. And you are either going to leave that event or you're never going to go to that event in the first place and pay for the ticket because especially as you get older, you learn more about yourself and what you can and cannot handle. And so, what's amazing with Culture City is we believe people should be everywhere globally, 24/7, 365, and that the accommodations and the knowledge and training for all of this actually doesn't take that much. And so I think I want to elaborate too that it's not just autism, but autism is a primary population in which these sensory sensitivities exist. But think ADHD, PTSD, so lots of veterans and also lots of females are a part of that population. And then traumatic brain injury recovery, stroke recovery, Parkinson's. Um, so it's just, again, it's the 1 in 4. I can't stress, like that's a lot of us out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for elaborating more on that because, some people may not be familiar, but I think even if people may not have a certain diagnosis, they may
Yeah.
remember an event that made them anxious for some reason so they can connect with that feeling as well. But I would like to elaborate more on what Culture City is doing to kind of work with people who have those needs. So could you tell us a little bit about well, whatever order you want
Yeah.
to go into, but the sensory inclusive certification and then the sensory inclusive bag.
Yes, love it. Absolutely. So what we do at Culture City when someone is going to become, we call them our partners because we're one big family. We're all on this mission together and we're supporting each other all the time. So what we do is we provide, like you need the understanding and the information. So we provide this training. And there is a training that is specific to the types of entities that we work with. So we don't just have one training that covers all entities. However, some of the information crosses over and overlaps because some of it is the same. But we have trainings that are specific to the school environment, to arenas and stadiums and larger venues, to first responders. Um, and we are getting ready to have even more in the next week or two to restaurants and real estate. And it's just really exciting that we have these catered trainings that are specific to meet the needs and the education needed to that specific entity. And so from there, once you have the training, Culture City then ships out some of our Culture City sensory bags. And those bags are research designed and research based, and inside them are a variety of sensory tools. So to meet the needs of someone maybe that is overwhelmed, or easily gets overwhelmed or in that physical pain with noise, we have noise canceling headphones. These are great. They fit both child and adult size heads. I love to tell people when I was born with an adult size head. So it's nice to know that you have these accommodating noise canceling headphones that provide a sense of grounding. You also have 3 fidget tools, and we call them tools because adults benefit from fidgets as well. And there's 3 specific types within each bag. So any Culture City partner you go to, what's nice is you can be like, oh my gosh, I love the fidget that's like the clicker. I'm so excited to go to that bag because I know what's in there. That's kind of intentional. And so we have those 3 fidgets, the headphones, strobe reduction glasses, which are excellent definitely for flashing lights. So think from first responders or concerts, but also walking through an airport, sitting in a classroom, just from person to person. The different sensitivities that people can have just varies drastically. So you might have fluorescent lighting that sets someone visually off, especially I know there's a neighbor in my life that was in a car accident, and now because the back of his head was hit, he's prone to getting migraines because it hit his occipital lobe. And so he has very strong sensitivities to lights. And so even if it's not flashing, those strobe reduction glasses are amazing. And then there's also, which I love this part, the visual communication card. So those were created originally for, and they still are, for non-speaking individuals or minimally speaking individuals who use other modes of communication, as well as those who have word finding difficulties. Again, think someone recovering from a stroke. These cards are wonderful because on one side it shows a bunch of the emojis and the emotions with the typed out word of what the emotion is. You flip it over, and there's going to be pictures of all the various sensory tools that we provide or like that are available in the facility or in the entity. And they're a great way to co-regulate with the child or the adult that is dysregulated, and it gives them that voice and that advocacy that they need in those moments when, again, fight, flight, and freeze take over. It's very hard to access um, ways to advocate for yourself because you're relying on kind of like the energy and the tools available. So all of those things are included in our sensory bags. And then we also include a weighted lap pad that is found usually at a guest services or like wherever you would find it on our, we have a KultureCity app that has social stories and walks each patron, each child and adult and family and friend group through what they can expect and how they can access these things on our app.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, it seems like a lot of research definitely went into filling those bags because so many different situations were covered. So that's amazing. Um, it made me think when you mentioned airports. It made me think when I had gone to a recent airport in Boston, I noticed that they had like a new sensory room. So I was glad to see that. And you at Culture City have two initiatives that involve sensory rooms: the sensory activation vehicle and the mobile sensory station. Can you explain the concept of a sensory room and what the need for it is?
Yes, and we also have, so we have the sensory activation vehicle, which is like our trailer that is a sensory room on wheels and is wheelchair accessible and goes everywhere, including the Super Bowl um,
Oh,
next
that's
weekend.
exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have then the mobile sensory station, like you said, which is one of my favorite things. And then we have sensory rooms and we have sensory pods. So think about in airports, you maybe have seen like those nursing pods.
Oh
These are
yeah.
pop up, but they're sturdy and they're actual rooms with four walls, but they're pop up in the middle of like one of the hallways or near one of the gates where you can enter into and close the door and you're in a Culture City sensory pod. But all those do fall under like sensory rooms for sure. And the purpose of a sensory room is to catch kind of a reprieve from all of the information, all the stimuli that the senses in your body are experiencing. And then that puts you in control of your sensory experience in these rooms. So, going like again, if you have a light sensitivity, going from maybe the harsh lights of the fluorescent lighting in an airport and entering into a sensory room, you would then be in charge of your light experience. So they're dimmable lights, light switches in those rooms. There are different. We have like nano leaf walls that you get to be in control of, like via touch, to make different lights appear, different colors appear. You get to watch the air bubble walls that have this almost like this flickering, mesmerizing light reflected into that, which can be very calming for the body. Um, so there's all these different tools within these sensory rooms, and they're meant to allow you to stay where you're at, allow you to go where you want to go. So especially in an airport, you're trying to go visit grandma in another state or going on a vacation. Um, and you have these sensory needs. Airports in and of themselves are very stressful. So having a place to catch that reprieve and to feel grounded again and to get the senses back in homeostasis is so amazing and needed for so many individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing about the pods because I must have missed that in my research, but it definitely sounds great. And I can think of so many settings that it would be useful for. Like when you mentioned like the fluorescent lights, like I think of another stressful place, like a hospital has that type of lighting, and like an airport, it's already stressful. So that would be, a great use of that. And I love how, the traveling vehicles will be at these big events like the Super Bowl. And I saw New Year's Eve at Times Square, and I was thinking like, oh, I can totally picture so many people using that may not even be aware of the terms like sensory needs, because those events can be so crowded and overstimulating. So I think creating awareness around these resources are really important. So I love how much Culture City is doing in that regard. So they've partnered, like we just mentioned, two big events, but they've also partnered in other ways with many big names like Coldplay and Carnival Cruise Line. So how do these two sort of very like major collaborations come about?
Yeah. Very similarly to the board experience of the organic component. For Coldplay, I was told that it had happened via, so this is going to be encouraging for all the families out there, all the parents that are big advocates. They had been reaching out regularly to the Coldplay management team, and Coldplay then their team reached out to us, and we made this happen, and we've been on their world tour now. I think this is our third year, and Coldplay, I think if you look them up in the news too, you just see like they're on top of so many wonderful initiatives, but to have them champion sensory accessibility and inclusion with Culture City is amazing. And I think it like sets the tone and the bar for other musicians and whatnot and other performers to come alongside and to join in on that movement too. So that would be Coldplay. So again, parents take note and take heart that your work does not go unnoticed, and it's through your advocacy that we get to make these partnerships happen and open up the world, these experiences to so many people. And then with Carnival Cruise Lines, I was told in 2018 there was a family on one of the ships, and they have an adult autistic son. And unfortunately, this is very tragic. The son fell off the ship and did not actually live.
Oh, wow.
And so the family reached out to Carnival to kind of like talk about the different, the ways in which their child's brain works and the ways in which many families that have family members with like autism, and they reached out to Carnival, and then they also reached out to Culture City to let us know about it. And a beautiful relationship was formed. So that was 2019 that the relationship was formed, and they've been going strong since. And I even have a local friend. So I'm in Park City, Utah, but she just got back from a Carnival cruise, and she was like sending me photos. I'm like, Meg, she's like, my daughter got to use a sensory bag, and like the staff was so accommodating and like so like kind of excited to be able to help out in that way. So it's amazing to see these partnerships come to life and to see how, again, I think with our name Culture City too, this stuff becomes part of the culture within our partners. And you get to experience these amazing stories of inclusion bit by
Yeah.
bit. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And it's, all about making progress, and important to share these stories because it shows how, pervasive inclusion and accessibility is and why it's needed for not only inclusion reasons but safety reasons, and that's why this type of work is needed in every setting, like you've mentioned before. So, speaking of partnerships, do you have a favorite partnership that Culture City has had? I know that may be a hard question, or you could list a
Yeah.
few.
The one that, or like the type is what I will say, the type of partnership that I get most excited, and I get excited about anytime someone becomes part of our team and part of our family. I would say our schools specifically. I'm such a believer that if we can start teaching kids about this kind of stuff at an early age, and we can teach them about their peers, about themselves, and we foster that sense of curiosity and pausing and thinking about, I wonder why, my classmate is having a hard time sitting still, or I wonder why the other student constantly is like folding little balls of paper up and crumbling them on their desk. I think if we can start that at a young age, then oh my gosh, that's going to trickle down into, I mean, those are our future police, those are our future teachers, our future president, our future Taylor Swifts. And if they get to bring that understanding with them along their whole journey of life, like sensory accessibility and inclusion and empathy is going to be a natural thing. And so I get very excited when we start this off in schools.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that answer because I say the same thing all the time. I won't go on my own tangent, but yeah, because like kids, like their curiosity is so like innocent. There's not like a
Mm-hmm.
negative intent until they kind of get taught, about like maybe like, oh, don't look or don't stare, but then that kind of exacerbates exclusion, for disabled people. But yeah, there's a lot we could say about that, but I'll leave your lovely answer as is, like, because it's really a great starting point, like you say, in the schools to start those conversations. Um, so we did talk a bit about the app like throughout, and I thought it was great. I had downloaded it, and I love how it's free. So everyone who's watching should definitely check it out. And then because I can just search Culture City in the App Store. And I'll just show. It's gonna be. I think the screen will be flipped a little. I don't know how it will come out, but it's gonna. If I put it in front of me, you can see it. I don't know if you want to say any of your like favorite parts about it. I was just gonna show um one part, the visual card, because that's kind of what you had mentioned that was in the bag, but this is on the app. So this kind of,
Uh,
when you open it, it shows like nearby venues, which thought was really cool. If people are traveling, things will pop up in the area that they're in. I thought that was great. And even I was like, oh wow, they partnered with a Lego store near me. I was like, I should have made a video before this episode, but going into the Lego store near me to check out what they have. But I did want to show the visual cue card. Hopefully it pops up, where this shows like the icons, and then I'll hit like restroom, and then I'll hopefully they'll be able to hear it.
Restroom.
And I think that's such a great resource. And then Koji, that was the one you're kind of the lead, or one of the
mhm.
leads on. I'll just show the screen here,
Yeah.
but this is more like an advanced talker than like the visual cue card, I would say. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah. So, and I'm so excited that you already played with the app. I think, yeah, we can't stress enough what an amazing tool and free tool absolutely everything on it is. So, in your pocket, you have your smartphone, pull it out. And then if you do even, if you see a child or adult that is in a state of fight or flight or freeze mode, you have that quick access to those visual cards that you just showed, with the accommodations that they could select from. You have the venues that you just also showed. So um, the app knows, your location, and so it's going to pull up all the closest entities that are nearby you, and then on it, and I think I'm going to pull up mine and see if it'll show too. But on it, if you click the venue, so this says Jeremy Ranch Elementary School. Whoop, there we go. It says social story underneath, and social stories are so important for clearly communicating expectations and what to expect when you enter into a facility that is one of our partners that is certified in sensory accessibility and inclusion. And when you click on the social story, it's going to walk you through um, about the environment. And when you arrive, it puts you in the first person. So you have the visual paired with the written. It's a great way to prep your child, especially in this instance, for the first day of school, or even if they arrive at your specific hotel or a cruise ship, you can show these individuals when they come to check out a sensory bag, hey, also download this app because you're going to be able to access this social story and navigate our location to understand where is a quiet area where there is no sensory input really happening. What does it mean that they're sensory accessible? And then what's in the bags and all the signage and whatnot. The layout is described well. And then finally, what's neat too. I mean, there's so much more that's not
I
final.
know, and
Yeah.
I thought it was so well designed too, like so user friendly. Yeah,
That's
I thought
important.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can tell, like, like right away, it was like so easy. It was just natural, like going step to step.
Yes, I love hearing that. And then on the bottom right of the screen, you have the toolbar, and you'll see the pink circle, and then in it it says KOJI, Koji, which is our AI. That's the AI conversation and communication tool. It's a form of AAC, or augmentative and alternative communication. So if you've ever seen anyone using a tablet or a dedicated speech device, this is one that can be in your pocket, but you can also download this on an Android or Apple tablet as well, which is nice for anyone that needs like larger icons and whatnot. Um, and then the really cool thing, the AI talker that's on there. So this is unlike any AAC that's out there. And all you have to do, you select the AI talker, and there's a microphone button that's on it. And say since I am I speak using verbal speech, and say I'm speaking with someone that is a non-speaking communicator, I can literally just say, "Hey, how are you?" and hit the green button and then send it to my phone, and it puts it completely accurately onto the screen and generates the top high frequency responses back in individual buttons that have corresponding um, icons or emojis next to them. And because of the AI talker piece, like it's very smart. So say you have someone that is in need of some sort of a sensory tool. Like I'll try to show you guys real quick on this. Do you need a fidget? Do you need a drink of water? Do you need a quiet space? So here, let me get it. It's putting it up. Well, right now it's thinking. There we go. And then it picked up on like, oh, Meg is listing something. And so it knew that, and it generated each of those. But then it's like, okay, like I know what topic she's talking about, and talked about a book or coffee, things that are calming. And you can even select on it more options, and it'll list more. However, also we built this on the foundation of presuming competence. Um, and we believe that all users can even learn and expand on their current communication skills, but they can even type to speak. So they can, if they already know how to text and type, it's got that great tool. Type in your message, you can initiate with it. And then there's also language folders, or a whole library of folders on there that you can customize and you can create your own. And what's really unique about it is these are full phrases and full sentences instead of individual words. And again, free will always be free. We will stand by that, because a lot of these types of devices, a lot of these apps cost hundreds to $10,000, $15,000, and this is free here in the now. So we're very excited about Koji. And again, it's not the Koji app, it's the Koji tool that's in the KultureCity app. And I'm just stressing that because we've recently had some people try to look for Koji on their app store. So just make sure you get KultureCity with a K, and then you'll find Koji in the bottom right corner.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for explaining all that, because I didn't really necessarily go through the whole AI, so it was interesting to hear you. I kind of was like looking at all, and I had noticed like the type to text and things like that. But there's so many great features depending on your need.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for explaining all of those. But yeah, like I said, I personally found it super like user friendly, very clear,
Yeah.
because there's like a mix of like symbols and pictures and words. So I thought it was really great. And I know it's so great that it's free. I love that. Such a great resource for everyone. Like we have stated, individuals with sensory needs shouldn't miss out on special events, experiences, and dreams. So Culture City has the Make the Nevers Possible initiative, which aims to provide individuals with the opportunity to make their own and their families nevers with a capital N possible. So who is a good candidate for this program, and what does the sort of application entail?
Right. any and everyone is a great candidate because, again, it can be a haircutting salon, it can be a library, a restaurant, a storefront. Definitely all things related to travel. So, visitor centers, airports, hotels, amusement parks, museums, zoos. Um, Again, 1 in 4 of the whole population has a sensory processing challenge or need, and it really doesn't take much. But if anyone reaches out to KultureCity, you can just do support@kulturecity.org and send an email. We will, within like 24 hours, reach out to you and get a Zoom set up to explain exactly what that would look like, that partnership, that training, and what that would entail. And it's a very smooth process. And we don't leave you. So, like, once you're certified, what's really fun is we have these ongoing webinars for our partners where we dive deeper into different sensory processing like situations. We celebrate one another of what's going well. We handle more nuanced situations, and then we update our training annually. So we continue to reach out with different resources, and we are behind the scenes cheerleaders for all of our partners as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I when I was going through your website, I'm like, when I saw this, I'm like, oh my gosh, they do so much. Like, so I really love how like at all levels, such amazing things are getting done. So I'm sure in your work you hear so many wonderful stories. So I do have a question from the audience. So besides the US, is Culture City operating in any other countries, or do they have any plans to expand if not?
Yes, we are in, I believe, 5 different countries. It could be 6. I know Canada, Australia, some places in the UK and in Asia. Um, I know our goal is definitely to expand, and we have some NDAs um, that cannot be discussed at this time, but any place in the entire world, Culture City is going to find a way to come alongside you and partner with you to get whatever location, entity, venue you are up and operating as the most inclusive and accessible facility for those with sensory needs.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I figured the NDAs, may be a factor because I was going to ask any future plans that you can share. I don't know if there are any, or more, just continuing on the initiatives. But anything
Yeah.
else you'd like to share?
I think maybe one thing that I'll just kind of expand on, like, I'm really looking forward to our restaurant training that's coming out because um, I'm sure a lot of people watching this or people that know of other families or friend groups that do have someone like a family member or a friend that has a sensory processing challenge or need knows that you tend to stick to like your same places. You're like, I'm going to go to that Italian restaurant, and or there's no way we're going to go to fine dining. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many um, differences from restaurant to restaurant and so many people that are limited by it because of their sensory needs that I think this is going to open up a variety of all types of restaurants and experiences. And I always think there's so much community around a table. And so the idea of people getting access to this at a variety again of like your typical mom and pop shop like restaurant to all the way up to fine dining, which I know we do already partner with like Tao restaurants, which are fine dining. But it's just going to be exciting to have specific training for like the waiters and waitresses and the hostess.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because, like we were saying earlier with entertainers, it's all about like raising the bar. So I'd love to get to a place where,
Yes.
you'd hate the shame, but like a chain would be kind of behind the 8 ball if they weren't up to date with their training, like and things like that. Because I think that's, so many people kind of follow the lead, and things have to get trendy. I hate to kind of use that word, but people kind of, um don't want to get left behind, they want to be, especially in businesses. So I just really love the idea of raising the bar. And I think restaurants are a great way to do that because, so many different like special experiences happen at restaurants. So it's not just like, the big concerts, it's, being a part of those family events and friend events that, you don't want to miss, so I think that's really awesome. So I love all the initiatives. I'm sure we could talk for a long time. But I'm personally following Culture City on social media, and I've been really enjoying seeing everything they're up to and all the events they're at and everything else. So I definitely recommend people to do that. And it's Culture City with a K in culture and then C in city. But where else can people go to learn more? Is it mostly social media and the website?
Yeah, so the website, yeah, and it's just www.kulturecity.org. And then I would say our prominent social media presence would be Instagram, and it's just Culture City, like you mentioned. And then that app, like just download it right now. It's completely free. You'll explore it, and I promise you, you will see what an amazing resource that is. And also just it's really fun to explore all the venues, and they're divided even at the top by like zoos, airports, all the above. So you can kind of plan your next traveling experience based on too like a place that has a variety of options, a city that has a variety of options available for you.
Yeah, that's great. And that's a great segue to kind of close out because, like we said at the top, tabifolk.com is all about sharing, travel experiences. So I'd love for that sensory inclusive travel forum to be filled with experiences like, hey, I was traveling and I was on the Culture City app and I realized, this zoo, was, trained or certified in sensory inclusion. And then, sharing things like that because that's what Tabifolk is all about. So yeah, so I hope people, check out Tabifolk, check out that forum if you're interested in sharing information like that. And we thank you so much, Meg, for joining us tonight. I loved talking with you and learning more about Culture City. So I can't wait to see what they do next. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much. We
Okay.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a nice night, everyone.